What's up guys, and welcome back. I know it has been a few weeks since I've posted and I have just been up to my eyeballs and I've been super busy and I haven't really had time to get out here into the garage and do some work. And also I'm getting to points in this build where it's very pivotal and I'm nervous and I'm not super confident in the things that I have to do, so it like makes me have decision paralysis and things like that. But I think today we're actually gonna work a little bit on the front of the frame. I'm gonna cap those frame rails that I have had open this entire time, and then we're actually gonna double up the frame rails that support the engine. Also, I have drywall guys in the other parts of the garage and above us. So if you hear this background noise, I apologize. I'll try to overlay it with music so you guys don't hear it. And we're gonna get to work. All right, if a lot of you guys saw earlier when we started building the front end of the frame with the tubing, I am extremely novice when it comes to tube bending. Today we're gonna try and take a piece of tube and get really close to matching the two bends that we put in our initial frame rail up there. And then we're basically gonna run like a parallel bar that's gonna have a couple of gussets in between it to make it kind of like a tubular rigid frame. This is kind of something that I always planned on doing. I wasn't just gonna leave it with one piece of 1 3/4 inch tubing up there, but I needed to get further along in the process before I could do this, so today's the day. I've got my anglometer here zeroed out. I'm gonna go ahead and make my first bend here. This is gonna be the initial bend, and then we're gonna have to try and measure our distance to the second bend so that we can basically parallel the frame rail that's up there. I am not good at this, and I'm just gonna try my best. Ugly, homemade looking rock crawler, but that's fine. We're gonna have fun building it. All right, well, I either just ruined it or made something beautiful. So I'm gonna take this angle finder off the end and we'll go over and hold it up against the frame and see which one we made. It's on little parts like this where you can really tell if like an experienced professional has done this, because my cope job here is pretty jagged and not very great looking. And if you have a really good cope job, then it gets fit really tight against the next pipe. And then when you go to weld, it makes the welds really nice and easy and there's not big gaps. And if you do a hack job like this, your welds aren't gonna look as pretty. But As long as you get a good weld on there, it's gonna hold just as strong. It just won't look like a professional did it. You know, that is actually not bad. Not as bad as I thought it was gonna be anyways. I think I'm gonna put probably 3 intermediate pieces in here, maybe just 2. So I'm basically gonna take that tubing that was over there, take my tubing notcher, and then I'm just gonna notch each side of this, like I put a little piece of pipe in there and notch each side so that it's like a little gusset that braces right here on this motor mount into this second piece here. We're gonna be fully welded here, braced right there, and then I may put another brace here in the center of this section just to kind of help alleviate all the stress that's gonna be from point A to point B. That cope job could be better, but it's pretty good for just winging it. All right, I've gone ahead and made my little notch for my motor mount because this is basically gonna brace right underneath the motor mount and it's gonna attach to our secondary frame rail to make that whole section right there very strong and rigid. It's gonna get more gussets, don't worry, because I know that that engine is gonna be under a lot of like jerking forces and things like that. So there's gonna be a lot more strength introduced to that motor mount, but this is the first piece. Kind of looks like a guy that knows what he's doing.
Could have fooled me.
Problem is, I don't know what I'm doing. Got this piece tacked in. Now, because I'm not a tube bender extraordinaire, I couldn't get these exactly parallel, so they are off by a little bit. It's not a problem. I can still make a parallel gusset like this and get it in there, and if there's a little bit of a gap, I can weld the gap. But I was concerned about tacking this in place because I was really concerned that I wasn't going to be able to get this gusset in, but this gap is smaller at the top and bigger at the bottom. So I think as long as I aim to put the gusset kind of right here in the middle, I should be able to get it in this larger spot and turn it and then slide it into place. So now we're going to try to make that piece. Now let's go see if we messed up. Yep. That sucks.
Doesn't fit.
So I went ahead and cut a couple of these tacks. Hopefully this just comes off easy. I only tacked one side. My tacks over there are very strong. Now we can test it. All right, cleaned off all the tacks. I've prepped all of the areas, and now I think I can tack this thing in place with both gussets. Well, it looks kind of cool. I mean, I got that going anyways. I wouldn't say that this is the strongest or best or prettiest way to do this, but it's the way I did it, and I like the way that it turned out. I would probably fully weld this up, except for in the future, when I get the front axle under here and I start like messing with my links and figuring out exactly where they're gonna go, I'm gonna try and do a double triangulated 4-link on the front end, which is very difficult with the driveline and exhaust and all the other parts of the engine that get in the way. So I'm actually not gonna fully weld this in yet. I'm gonna wait until I actually have my front axle, all the links and everything in place, and I know everything's gonna work before I start welding all of this fully in, because it's a lot easier to cut a couple tacks, pull this out, change it, move it, do whatever, than it would be if I fully welded it. I'd have to like cut the whole front end of the frame off basically. So this side is done. All right, let's see if this piece fits. This is gonna be for the driver's side now that we're done with the passenger side. Looks a little narrow, but all right, I got that end cap completely welded on there, welded on all sides. I will not say anything about how pretty those welds are, because they kind of look like crap, but also they're gonna get ground down and you're never gonna see them anyways, so it doesn't really matter. But now I'm gonna move on and go get another piece of pipe and get ready to start bending our next frame rail. And hopefully I can get this one at least as good looking as the other side. I wouldn't say it's perfect, I would say it looks pretty good. I can hopefully do something similar on this side. We'll see. Better. It's looking pretty good, pretty equal with the other side. Looking pretty good. This inside edge just needs to be widened up a little bit. I don't really like coping pipe like by hand with a grinder and stuff like that, but when they're at this, when you have like a bend and then you have to cope on an angle at the bend, it's not very easy to get these types of copes into the like tubing notcher, so gotta do it by hand. All right, I've got my first little gusset piece cut. We're gonna go test fit it, measure for our second gusset piece. Then I just gotta do a whole bunch of grinding, get it all tacked into place. And that might be all we have time for today, but if I can get both of those frame rails like basically built and tacked in place, I think that's a successful day. side of the frame rail is completely gusseted and supported. I feel like it looks like a roller coaster. Like, I feel like these two tubes that are like running parallel with these gussets in between, it looks kind of like a roller coaster, and I think that's cool. But anyways, we have had quite the day in the shop today. We made a lot of progress. I probably got flash burnt because I didn't wear my welding jacket there at the very end, so gonna learn my lesson there. But all in all, I think we made some good progress and we had a good day. If you guys enjoyed coming along on this adventure, make sure you show me by giving a big thumbs up on today's video. Consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys on the next one.